I was thinking, maybe we should take a break from trying, my husband said casually at his brother's anniversary dinner. The long table of family members went quiet. All this fertility stuff is draining our savings, and the doctors keep saying there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe we need to accept that some women just aren't built to carry children. I felt 20 pairs of eyes shift to me. My sister-in-law's fork froze halfway to her mouth. My mother-in-law nodded slightly, as if she'd been saying this all along. I forced my face to remain neutral as my husband continued. My brother had no trouble getting Sarah pregnant. Twice, he said, gesturing to the couple being celebrated. It obviously runs in our family to be fertile. I smiled like I agreed while everything inside me shifted. I had always wanted children. Growing up as an only child in a quiet household, I dreamed of a home filled with noise and chaos and love. My parents showed affection through reliability rather than grand gestures. They taught me that love was consistent effort, not fireworks. This foundation shaped everything about me. I became a pediatric nurse, finding purpose in caring for children when they were most vulnerable. My colleagues valued my steadiness during emergencies, my ability to remain calm when parents couldn't. I met David at a hospital fundraiser. He was there supporting his friend whose child had recovered from leukemia. I was working the event, but we kept finding ourselves in conversation throughout the evening. He was charming in a way I wasn't used, too quick-witted, openly emotional, full of stories that commanded attention. Our courtship was a whirlwind. David planned elaborate dates, rooftop dinners, weekend getaways, surprise concert tickets. 3 months in, he told me he loved me during a hot air balloon ride at sunrise. 6 months later, he proposed at a restaurant where he de-arranged for the chef to hide the ring in my dessert. When I called my mother to share the news, she asked careful questions about compatibility, shared values, future plans. I assured her we had discussed everything important. He wants children too, Mom. At least 3. We've talked about it extensively. Back then, I still believed effort would earn respect. We agreed to start trying immediately after the wedding. I was 32, David 34. We both felt ready, financially stable, emotionally prepared. I tracked my cycles, read books on conception, adjusted my diet and exercise routines. Each month brought anticipation, followed by disappointment. But I remained optimistic. At 6 months with no success, I noticed David becoming increasingly quiet when my period arrived. At the 8-month mark, he suggested I see my doctor. Just to make sure everything's working properly, he said, with forced casuality. My doctor found nothing concerning but referred me to a fertility specialist just to be thorough. When I mentioned that my husband should probably be tested too, she agreed. Absolutely. About 40% of fertility issues originate with a male partner. You should both get comprehensive workups. That evening, I shared this information with David while he prepared dinner. The kitchen smelled of garlic and basil, warm yellow light making everything feel safe. The doctor thinks we should both get tested, I said, chopping vegetables. Apparently, it's just as likely to be a male factor as female. David's knife paused over the chicken he was cubing. That's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with me. My brother has 2 kids. My dad has 3. Fertility runs strong in my family. I'm just sharing what the doctor said, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. It's standard procedure for both partners to get tested. I'll think about it, he said in a tone that suggested the conversation was over. He never brought it up again, and when I made an appointment with a fertility specialist for myself, a last-minute work emergency that prevented him from joining. The specialist ran several tests, all of which came back normal. Everything looks good, she said, but we really need your husband's results to get the full picture. I placed that moment where I keep things I can't unknow. Life continued. We built a home together, renovating a small craftsman with a yard, perfect for future children. David installed a tire swing from the massive oak tree before we'd even unpacked all our boxers. For the little ones, he said, his face bright with certainty. I planted a garden with strawberries and snap peas, imagining small hands helping to harvest. Our routines became comfortable, interwoven with inside jokes and shared references. Sunday mornings meant Belgian waffles with fresh berries and reading the newspaper in bed. Rainy evenings became fortnights where we'd build elaborate structures from couch cushions and blankets, watching movies inside like children. We developed shorthand phrases that became our private language. Code Purple meant one of us needed rescue from a boring conversation at a social event. Level 5 situation indicated a particularly difficult day that required ice cream therapy. I didn't realize how much those quiet rituals would cost later. As the 1-year mark of trying to conceive approached, I noticed subtle shifts in our dynamic. David began making jokes about my empty oven to friends, laughing it off as harmless when I objected later. He started scheduling golf outings during my fertile window, looking confused when I pointed out the timing. At a dinner with his family, his mother asked innocently, "When we were planning to start a family?" Before I could answer, David said, "Ask her. I'm doing my part." Everyone laughed while heat crept up my neck. In the car afterward, I told him how humiliating that had been. "You're too sensitive," he replied. It was just a joke. Small comments accumulated like snow, almost imperceptible until you realize you're buried. When I mentioned a colleague's pregnancy announcement, David muttered, "Some women just know how to do their job." When my period arrived, his disappointment manifested as criticism about the house, my cooking, my work hours. The breaking point came at his brother's anniversary party. 2 years of marriage, 2 children, and an announcement of a third on the way. The contrast to our situation was already painful enough without David's public commentary on my supposed fertility issues. I was thinking, maybe we should take a break from trying, he said casually at dinner. All this fertility stuff is draining our savings, and the doctors keep saying there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe we need to accept that some women just aren't built to carry children. The silence around the table was deafening. His mother nodded in agreement, and I sat there, smiling politely as if this wasn't the first time I was hearing this suggestion. As if we had discussed this privately, like actual partners. My brother had no trouble getting Sarah pregnant. Twice, he continued. It obviously runs in our family to be fertile. Their laughter finished the sentence I'd been avoiding. The sentence was, "This marriage is not what I thought it was. This man is not who I thought he was. This life we've built is balanced on a foundation of blame and misdirection." That night, I waited until David's breathing shifted into the deep rhythm of sleep. I slipped out of bed and went to my home office. One researched fertility clinics that offered comprehensive male testing, finding one that specialized in difficult cases where reluctant partners were common. I drafted an email to my doctor requesting all my fertility records. I made a list of questions to ask, resources to consult, options to consider. Then I did something I had never done before. Forwarded all my documented incidents of David as gaslighting and public humiliation to my personal email and backed them up to a secure cloud account. Finally, I wrote a letter to David. Not an accusation or an ultimatum, but a clear statement of facts and my proposed path forward. I had scheduled comprehensive fertility testing for both of us at a new clinic. I would attend couples counseling with him if he was willing. I would proceed with my family planning journey with or without him, depending on his choices. By morning, everything would be exactly where it belonged. The next day, I placed the envelope beside David's coffee cup. I watched his face as he read it, noting the progression from confusion to anger to something like fear. "What is this?" he demanded, waving the paper. "It's all there in the letter," I replied calmly. "I've scheduled comprehensive testing for both of us. I told you I'm not the problem. Then the test will confirm that, and we can move forward with treating whatever is causing our difficulty." The following weeks unfolded with tense precision. David initially refused to attend the clinic appointment but changed his mind after his sister apparently had a frank conversation with him. We attended separately but provided consent for results to be shared with both of us. The results arrived on a Tuesday. We were asked to come in together to discuss the findings. The clinic waiting room was aggressively neutral beige walls, inoffensive art, magazines carefully selected to avoid any mention of children or family life. The doctor, a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and direct speech, ushered us into her office. Files were arranged neatly on her desk. She began with general statements about fertility being complex and multifactorial. David interrupted. "Just tell us what's wrong with her," he said. The doctor paused, looking between us. "Actually, Mr. Mitchell, Your wife's results show no fertility issues whatsoever. Her egg quality, hormone levels, and reproductive structures are all completely normal. David frowned. That can't be right. We've been trying for almost 2 years. Yes, which is why we tested both of you, she continued. And your results, Mr. Mitchell, indicate several significant fertility challenges. She turned her computer monitor so we could both see it. Charts, graphs, medical terminology that meant nothing to me but clearly indicated problems. Your sperm count is extremely low, with poor motility, and there's an unusually high percentage of abnormal morph. Additionally, you have varicocele and large veins in the scrotum. That can impact sperm production and quality. The room seemed to tilt slightly. David's face drained of color. That's impossible, he whispered. My brother has 3 kids. Fertility isn't hereditary in the way many people assume, the doctor explained gently. Your brother's reproductive health has no bearing on yours. Reality is loud when you can prove it. The drive home was silent. David stared out the passenger window, the clinic folder clutched in his hand so tightly the edges crumpled. When we arrived home, he went straight to his office and closed the door. He emerged hours later, eyes red, face haggard. I owe you an apology, he said, voice rough. I've been horrible to you. I nodded, waiting. I suspected, he continued, the confession seeming to physically pain him. About 6 months in, I read something about male factor infertility being common, and I couldn't face it. It was easier to let everyone think it was you. 6 months after the diagnosis, I made a decision. We had just returned from discussing IVF options. David was enthusiastic, already calculating costs and success probabilities. I watched him making plans for our future family and realized I could unsee myself in that picture anymore. I don't think we should proceed with IVF, I said quietly. He looked up from his calculator, confused. Why not? The doctor said we have a good chance. I don't think we should proceed with anything, I clarified. I don't think we should have a child together. The silence that followed was heavy with understanding. This wasn't about fertility anymore. You're leaving, he said. Not a question. 3 years passed. I moved to a smaller city, took a position coordinating pediatric care at a teaching hospital. I also pursued single motherhood. After consultation with doctors and considerable reflection, I chose to use a sperm donor and undergo IUI treatments. My daughter, Lily, was born on a spring morning, healthy and perfect. He approached cautiously, respecting my space. We exchanged small talk. Then he asked the question I had been expecting. Do you have children now? A daughter, I said, unable to keep the pride from my voice. She's full. A pause. Then he continued more hesitantly. I have 2 stepchildren now. And ... Double quotes. He took a breath. Angela's pregnant. The surgery and treatment worked. Congratulations, I said, meaning it. I'm happy for you both. I want to thank you, he said finally, for making me face the truth. It wasn't just about the fertility. I studied his face, searching for the manipulation that had once been so familiar. I didn't find it. I hope you're different with him. Primera side, simply. I know what I lost because of who I was. She chatted excitedly about preschool art projects and the frogs she had spotted in my parents' garden. My phone buzzed with a text from a man I'd been seeing for several months, a pediatric surgeon with kind eyes and straightforward communication. Hope your presentation went well. Lily helped me bake cookies for when you get home. I smiled at the ordinary, wonderful chaos of the life I had built. A life where challenges were faced directly, where difficulties were shared rather than assigned. He'd wanted the credit without the responsibility, the privilege without the vulnerability. Now, we both understood the truth.